Hello, I'm Carolyn Lefley. I'm a photographic artist based in Somerset and I'm interested in cameraless photography. I initially started about 10 years ago working with the cyanotype process, which is sensitive to UV light and also known as sun prints. But this year I've become more interested in plant-based prints called anthotypes. So I'm going to show you how to do these today. Anthotypes comes from the Greek word anthos, which means flower, and anthotypes can be made with flowers, berries or plants. And there's a three-stage process. You need to make your own emulsion from this natural material, then you need to paint it onto a thick paper or watercolour paper or even fabric, and then you need to print the anthotype by exposing it to sunlight. Now that's where a lot of patience comes in, because sometimes exposures can take weeks. I've tried to select a couple of examples which will be slightly quicker than that. We're going to be working with spinach, which you can achieve a result in around 4 hours in strong sunlight, and also blackberries, which around August time you'll be able to find in the local hedgerows in Somerset. So before we get started, when you're working with foraging in the countryside, make sure children are supervised at all times, and have a look at getting some kind of foraging field guide, or even better, with your smartphone, use the Google Lens to identify plants to make sure that they're non-toxic in case any children decide to eat them. A safe start is blackberries, which are popping up everywhere. It's August now, and you can make a mixture with blackberries and paint it onto the paper, which I'll show you how to do. You can make prints with berries, which make quite strong vivid prints, blackberries, raspberries or even elderberries. You can make prints with flowers, dandelions, pansies are particularly good, lilies, marigolds and poppies are some examples. You can make prints using plants and leaves. Spinach is a really good sort of starter example. I've actually brought mine from a shop. You can forage for wild spinach, but it's actually also known as sea beet and is available on the coastlines of the UK. Wild garlic, which grows in the woodlands in springtime, and also you can available in farm shops. And even lawn grass can be used to make prints. So it's a four-stage process really. You need to get hold of some plant materials, either by foraging or buying some fruit or leaves from a shop. The second stage is making your emulsion, which you're going to paint onto the prints. And there's two ways you can make an emulsion. You can use pestle and mortar and grind down your berries, and you can see here an emulsion is forming very quickly. The other way to start forming your emulsion is to collect a larger quantity of berries or leaves or petals and put them in either a stand-up blender, or use a hand stick blender, or even a food processor. Once you've got your paste either made with the pestle and mortar or with a blender, this needs to be strained through a sieve lined with something like a muslin or a clean tea towel. And this just makes sure that none of the bits go onto the paper that you'll be coating. So then it comes to coating the prints. This should be done out of direct sunlight, and either with a sponge brush or just a normal household paintbrush, like a 1-inch paintbrush. I tend to do 2 coats, just to give a stronger base colour, but you can just use 1 coat. And as I said, spinach is a really good place to start, because you've got a quicker exposure in the sunlight. Spinach, when blended, has an extremely sensitive emulsion, so it's quite rewarding for a first time print. So here we've got an emulsion that I've painted on to watercolour paper with spinach emulsion, and I'll just do the reveal. So this has had about 4 hours exposure, and you can see that's made a really strong, vivid print. The Blackberry has had a longer exposure of 2 days and could probably do with a further 2 days to get a more contrasty print. I've actually used a bramble from a blackberry bush to make that stencil for that print. But you can see here a subtle shadowing of the print with a bright spot in the middle. And you can see some fibres of the berries have come through in my coating there. And the beauty of the Anthotype process is no chemicals are involved. As well as using natural stencils to make your photogram, you can also use photographic images printed onto inkjet acetates. And with the Anthotype process, that image has to be in positive, and you can create a beautiful photographic print of an image that you've shot on either a film or digital camera. So there's so many possibilities with this. The thing to remember is they do fade if left out, so they're a temporary artwork. To recap, to make an Anthotype you'll need plants, berries or flowers to work with. I've used spinach, blackberries and dandelions. You'll also need some way to mix the material together, either a pestle and mortar or a blender. You'll need a sieve and fabric such as muslin to strain the solution. You'll also need something to coat your emulsion onto. I used watercolour paper, but you can also use thick paper, card or fabric such as cotton. You'll need a foam brush or a standard paintbrush, and a glass or perspex clip frame or any picture frame. And finally, I'd like to recommend this really helpful book on Anthotypes by Malin Fabry. One last thing to add, you need sunlight, as we are using the photosensitive qualities of plants. Summertime is a perfect time to try Anthotypes. Enjoy experimenting with natural materials and the slow pace of this traditional process.